It's important that you rub more butter onto the hot pancake. You feel that crunch?
Hey guys, it's Mandy again. I'm with Food 52 to bring you yet another recipe from my cookbook, The Art of Escapism Cooking. And this time, we're going to page 68, and I'm going to make a recipe that I call Crackling Pancake with caramel clustered blueberries. This recipe calls for frozen blueberries, and you are going to be tempted to just go to the freezer section of your supermarket and get a bag of frozen blueberries, but don't do that. What I would suggest is getting fresh blueberries, okay? Wash them, kind of dry them slightly on a paper towel, and then put them in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer. The reason why you want to do your own frozen blueberries is because those freezer section blueberries, they during like transportation or manufacturing, they were often kind of thawed at some point in the process and then refrozen, and which caused them to bleed a lot of their juices already inside the bag, which is going to kind of ruin this recipe. So even though it is an extra step, but I think it's still worth it. And you don't have to use just blueberries. I'm sorry, my dogs are fighting amongst themselves in the background, so bear with them. You don't have to you can use any types of berries like raspberry, blackberries. I've done this with strawberries as well. So any types of berries will work beautifully with this recipe. So this is giving me anxiety. I'm going to pop this back in the freezer. You want to keep the blueberries frozen until the minute that the recipe calls for them. Okay. There are a lot of different techniques in creating caramels. This is kind of what I think is the most fail-proof method, which is I add my sugar in the pot, and then I add a tablespoon of water. So instead of dry heating the sugar and letting it melt, I'm kind of the tablespoon of water kind of gives it a head start, and what that does is I think it helps the sugar melt a lot more evenly, and it prevents crystallization. This kind of takes that concern out of the equation and makes the process, I think, a lot more fail-proof. You see how it's now kind of this like beautiful amber color, and this is when I turn off the heat. And it's gonna continue to darken slightly inside this hot pot, right? So it's okay, just set it aside. Once your caramel is ready, what I do is I put it on a towel so it doesn't burn my counter, and then what I do is I just dump all the blueberries, the frozen blueberries, into the caramel, okay? And I give it a really quick stir, and I quickly dump it onto a plate before the blueberry can melt. I know this is like a really quick process. Because I have to be quick, otherwise the blueberries will melt. But basically what you're gonna get is these blueberries that are stuck together because once the caramel hardens, you see? So once you've done that, immediately put this back into the freezer so the blueberries will melt. The next thing we're gonna make is the reduced balsamic honey. So here I have a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar that I already reduced down by half. So now I have 2 tablespoons in here. And you don't use any fancy balsamic. Okay, this is like a cheap supermarket garden variety balsamic, and in fact you don't want to use an expensive one. You want the balsamic to be quite loose and not thick to begin with. When you make this recipe, make sure that you don't add the sugar and honey right in the beginning. before the balsamic is reduced, because I tried that, but for some reason it broke the balsamic vinegar. So reduce the balsamic vinegar before you add the sugar and honey. So I'm going to add light brown sugar. I'm going to stir the sugar in the warm balsamic reduction. And just as, whoa, the acidity is kind of really going up my nose. So once the sugar has melted, which it has, woo, okay, I'm going to add the honey. And I'm doing this on a scale because I hate measuring honey by the volume. I think it's kind of dumb. So 1 tablespoon of honey is 20 grams. I need 60 grams. So here's what it's going to look like, okay? Should be nice and thick. So set this aside. And the next thing we're going to make is the crackling pancake. A lot of people were asking me, like, why this, big ass pancake instead of, like, those classic Instagram-worthy stacks of pancake. I'm not a big fan of stacked pancake. I feel like it takes forever to make, by the way, unless you have a super big griddle at home. Each pancake takes a long time, and then it takes like 40 minutes to get the entire batch of pancakes done. So I'm not a big fan. Number 2, the stacking kind of creates steam in between the pancake and ruins that crispiness that you try so hard to create with each pancakes. So what I like is I like to make a basically it's still just a regular batch. The amount of the batter is kind of the same as a lot of other recipes, but instead of several pancakes, I'm making it into one big cake, if you will, okay? But it has a really, really crispy, thick, crispy crust that's making it very differentiated from all the other pancake recipes. And you don't have to use this particular pancake batter recipe. If you have your favorite pancake batter recipe, by all means you can do that. But this is what I'm doing right now. So in the bowl, I have flour, baking powder, sugar, buttermilk, 1 egg, 2 tablespoons of canola oil, and salt. Now I need to talk a bit about the skillet that we're using. Here is a 9 inches cast iron skillet that is about 2 inches deep. Okay, so you need something that is it can be about, so this is 9 inches wide, so you can do like 8 inches to 10 inches, but nothing too much smaller or bigger than that, because you're gonna significantly change the diameter of the pancake, and therefore all the cooking amount of time changes and everything changes. So 9 inches, about 9 inches wide, and you need that 2-inch depth for that pancake, because this is quite a tall pancake, okay? So, and then also something that is relatively non-stick, like this cast iron. It doesn't have to be complete Teflon, but it has to be, it can be something that sticks really easily. So here I'm melting 2 tablespoons of butter on, I'm gonna say like medium-low heat until it's foaming like this. And then I'm going to add my batter all at once. Okay. And then I'm going to smooth it out. And you can see that the butter, the butters are basically being pushed out to the side, and it's kind of like surrounding and hugging the pancake batters all around, and which is what you want, because that's going to create that beautiful crust. So I'm going to try my best to make it even here, okay? So once it's even, like leveled, okay, like that, I'm going to put a lid on, okay? And in the recipe, and I mean this, don't peak for 8 minutes. I'm going to turn my heat down to very low. And during that 8 minutes, what's going to happen is that the steam is going to cook the pancake. Okay, so because this is a much thicker pancake, it needs that steam to basically cook it all the way through. So it's about 8 minutes. And you can see that the pancake, singular, not plural, you see that the batter is not completely cooked through yet, but it's not runny anymore, so it's like semi-cooked through, which is what we want. And I'm just gonna check the bottom of the pancake. Now, once like the steaming process is through, we're gonna focus on giving this pancake a gorgeous crust, okay? So I'm going to turn the heat back on medium-low. And then what I'm gonna do is, every stove is gonna be different, right? So I can see that, you know, by slightly lifting the pancake up, I can see that the sides are still lacking in brownness. So that is what I'm going to focus on right now. So you can see that I'm tilting the pan here. And then I'm focusing the heat on wherever I want a little bit more browning. There, I think I have it. And then flip. There. And I'm going to add 2 more tablespoons of butter. And you see that I'm positioning the butter on the side of the pancake. And that's basically going to melt, and then I'm gonna lift the pancake up a little bit so that the melted butter can basically seep all the way to the bottom and brown that other side as well. So I'm doing the same thing here, right? I'm just gonna tilt the pan. I'm caring for this piece of pancake like as if it's a piece of steak. And I'm doing this because I want browning on the edges as well, not just on the center of the pancake. And I often find that those edges are the best part. You'll know when it's ready when all the butter has been absorbed into the pancake, okay? And we're going a little bit further than the usual color that normal people want on their pancake because like I said, this is called a crackling pancake. I really want a really crispy crust all around the pancakes instead of just like a blonde color, which is typically what you would get on normal pancakes, which is just not, flavor-wise or textural-wise, is not as satisfying for me. Now, I'm going to let this pancake cool slightly on a cooling rack like this for just a couple minutes, okay? Just a couple minutes. I just want it to cool down just slightly so that when I transfer it onto the plate, the steam doesn't completely ruin the bottom crust, okay?
It is important that you rub more butter onto the hot pancake so that it melts and makes the surface just looks really shiny and decadent.
Even if you just eat the pancake on its own, it may look, because of its size, it may look dense, but I swear to you, it's not. You hear that crunch? That is both from the pancake and the blueberries. And this is a time-sensitive dish, right? It's so satisfying to pair that ice-cold blueberry cluster with that warm pancake.
and you really don't want to like have the blueberry come to room temperature and starts to become mushy. You'd really want that sound when you're eating this pancake. There's like multiple levels of crunch. The shattering crunch of the caramel, the kind of like soft, squishy crunch of a frozen blueberries, and then there's that warm, crusty pancake. So many different textures, so many different temperature happening in your mouth. And that tartness of that reduced balsamic vinegar, honey comes through and then just basically balance everything together. And yes, it's a little bit more work than your normal breakfast pancake where you just douse syrup all over everything. But it's so worth it. And you can totally make the blueberries and the syrup ahead of time. And the pancake itself really just takes 12 to 15 minutes. So if you plan well, I think this is the perfect brunch item if you want to wow your friends. So thanks for watching. I hope it really inspires you to make this recipe. Again, any summer berries will work beautifully with this recipe. I've done it with strawberries. I've done it with raspberry. You can even use a combination where like there's multiple colors and multiple flavors and multiple textures going on. Knock yourself out. Yeah, I hope you like it. It's a really tasty pancake. I hope that reverses your obsession or people's obsession with stacked pancake and start making this pancake. And let me know if you like it, okay? Thank you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.